people often lump, for example, they often lump Marxism and cultural Marxism together. In my telling, these are opposites, because Marxism at least was primarily concerned about the outside objective material economic realities. And then cultural Marxism was like the shift from Apollo to Woodstock, where you just went into the sort of interior world. You no longer were thinking about this outside world. And in some ways, you stopped asking these questions about economic growth and basic economic prosperity. And then that coincided with also with this lack of progress in these things. So I think there were all these kinds of cultural transformations that coincided with this shift. I think people often ask why this stagnation happened. My standard, or if you agree with this, and of course people can disagree, how much it happened, but if you agree with me that there's been, a slowing down of progress, that, in some sense the singularity was maybe more in the past than in the future. And then you always have these questions, why did it happen? And my cop-out answer is always that why questions are overdetermined. And it could be sort of our society became risk-averse or too feminized, or you could say that there was too much regulation and bureaucracy, which is sort of a libertarian intuition I have. But I've come to think that one of the bigger factors that was the sense that a lot of the science and technology was quite dangerous. It had at least in a military context, had a dual-use character, and there was already some relentless acceleration of this stuff in the late 18th, 19th centuries. Napoleonic Wars, Colonel Colt with the revolver, Alfred Nobel inventing dynamite. World War I, was sort of a break point where, this sort of naive progressive narrative really got undercut. And then somehow you can say that the sort of Baconian science project in some sense ended in the Hegelian sense as both culminated and terminated at Los Alamos with the building of nuclear weapons. And then again, it doesn't work perfectly, but my telling would be that it took maybe a quarter century for nuclear weapons to really get internalized by society. And then by the 1970s, the energy was, we don't want to be doing this outside world where we're going to build ever more thermonuclear bombs. We want to be, piecing out at Burning Man with psychedelic drugs. We want to, or you escape back to nature through environmentalism. We want to be in a world not of change, but of stasis, because the world of change has this apocalyptic dimension. Change for the worse. That's the sense that gets, encapsulated in the 1970s. And so there's a way that the sort of progressive version of science, we try to put the pause button on it. The places where it's still allowed, you can say, are the most inert. So in a way, the world of bits was seen as incredibly inert because you're not building bombs, you're not building weapons with it, and then of course even there's some sort of way in which the ideas on the internet maybe they do translate into reality every now and then. What happens on Twitter or X always stay there. Most of the time it stays there, so it feels like it's this extremely angry, intense conversation, but every now and then it still translates to the real world. So the internet, you could say, was allowed because it was sort of a safe space. It was a place where the sort of violence could be contained, and then even there probably not totally, and even there people felt it was like maybe too much. But yes, the sort of apocalyptic background of late modernity, where every microaggression has the potential to escalate to Armageddon.